Greetings and blessings, everyone. Thank you for coming. This is Adventures in ecoRelations, and we are gathering every month on the fourth Thursday. And our focus with this Zoomcast is to highlight the unique personal relationships that people can have with who I call nature elders. So these are the wise beings that can take the form of trees, water, mountains, rock, boulder, fairy, stars, clouds. I mean, anyone that you would consider is older and wiser than you, that's the term of respect that we offer. So let's bring us to gallery view. And I want to just say hello to everyone and see who's here. All right, welcome, welcome, welcome. Sandy, Elise, Jennifer, Karen, Barbara. Wow, it's a long time since we've seen you, Barbara. Welcome, Bob, Julie. So tonight we have I would say it's a special offering. Some of you may or may not be aware that this week is World Unity Week. This is an annual international forum really that happens every year. It started in lockdown in 2020. This is the fourth year. And so all week, literally hundreds and thousands of people have been gathering online for World Unity Week in all kinds of interactive conversations, presentations, ceremonies, etc. So in the spirit of working together, and the theme for World Unity Week, which is New Earth Rising, I decided to make this a panel tonight and to bring back two people who have been guests here previously, Pam Turczyn and Mary Getten, and for us to offer what are some of the updates in the field and in the areas of nature communication or in an art practice that comes from our communication with our tree relatives and elders. So we're going to begin tonight with a sound, offering a sound for centering, and then I might offer a tiny bit of sounding or sound weaving, just to kind of open this listening field for us, and prepare the way for what's going to be shared about our nature elders. So just invite us to close our eyes to begin, and we'll. And I'm just going to make sure everybody's muted so the sound doesn't wing out. There we go. Mother, Father, God, Creator, Great Spirit, we give thanks for this day. Give thanks for our lives and this sacred time that we have together to share our hearts, to share what flows through these sacred and precious relations we have with our nature elders and relatives. So we give thanks to each of them for their friendship and for their guidance, for their humor, for their patience with us and their love for us. as we move forward into the day where we are literally living and working and celebrating in co-creative partnership with them each and every day. So let's begin. So the first offerer will be Mary Getten, and Mary is a retired animal communicator. She worked with clients and taught workshops and teleclasses in animal and nature communication for 25 years. Mary also led trips to meet with whales and dolphins in the wild for 30 years. She is the author of Communicating with Orcas, The Whale's Perspective, and has contributed to several other books. Mary holds monthly global water healing meditations and is in service to the trees through her work with global tree lovers. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you, Danielea. It's great to be here. I think this is going to be fun tonight, and I'm going to take you on a little journey here with this beautiful being. This is a female sperm whale.
Mary, can I pause you just for a moment?
Sure.
Devananda, can you put this slideshow, if you go to play up at the top, it says new win. There we go. Thank you.
So, as Danielea said, I spent 30 years taking people to be with whales and dolphins in the wild. And during that time, I've met a lot of different types of whales and dolphins. But this is sperm whales, and I've always wanted to meet them. There's not a lot of places on the planet where you can see them, and even less where you can swim with them. And so finally, last month, I got to go to Dominica down in the Caribbean, where there are resident groups of sperm whales. And this time of year, it's females and calves and juveniles. The males are down there in the winter. So this is a female. And we were super blessed to spend the first 3 days in the water with sperm whales. They were so sweet. They just hung out with us. I expected them to kind of take off. And yeah, you can, Devananda, you can go to that picture. Something all of us on the trip wanted to see was these guys sleeping. This is a picture. We got to see them. We got to be with them while they took a nap for 20 minutes on the very first encounter. And they're just incredible to see this in the water with you. And the time we spent with them was just super. It's almost hard for me to explain. They deep dive. They feed on the bottom, so they go down 3,000 feet, and they eat squid. They're down there in the dark. One time when they came up, one had a big old piece of squid hanging out of her mouth. It was just amazing to see that. And they were breaching, jumping completely out of the water, which is something we don't get to see very often either. So it was just a remarkable experience to spend time with them. And when they go down to feed, they stay down actually from 45 to 90 minutes at a time. So we were just super blessed to get to spend so much time with them. They would go down, then they come back up, and we jump back in the water again. So Devananda, if you want to go to the other, no, back one to the first sperm. That's right. Okay. So I had a chat with this lady. My process is that when I'm in the water with a whale or a dolphin, I'm just there. I'm soaking up their presence. I'm being in their energy. I'm just communing with them. And then what I do is I come home and I sit down with a picture and have a conversation. Because in person, I just want to be in that energy and feel it. So I spoke to this female here, and one question that people keep asking me is, why do they sleep vertically? So I asked her, and she said, because it's comfortable and our bodies are easily buoyant in that position. We don't do anything special, just position ourselves in that depth. We're safe there from small boats, and larger ones will wake us up. So it's just a great spot for them. So I asked her, what's the purpose of sperm whales? Do they have a purpose or a mission? And she said, we hold the energy of oceans and work with all types of energy to balance the earth. The earth easily gets out of balance due to internal forces and movement, technology, and energy from other planets and stars. As a group, all whales modify or modulate the energy and balance the earth. So that made me a little curious. And I asked, do you work with the trees? And she said, not with them, but in addition. They do their work from land. We do it from the sea. All beings on the planet are affected by these changes in energy and participate in balancing things. Some of us are just more aware of what we are doing and more conscious about it. Humans do it too. Most just don't realize it. And so I said, well, thank you for this service. And she said, no thanks are needed. This is how it is meant to be. So I asked her if she had a message for humanity. And she said, don't worry so much. You dwell too much on doom and gloom. Things are not as bad as you think. Yes, there are changes, but here is all about change. So relax, be joyful, have fun, be well. So love this lady. She was really super. And after 3 days of spending time with, they were actually different resident families of sperm whales we saw every day. The fourth day we went out and no sperm whales, but we had short-finned pilot whales. And they come in a large group often. We had, I think, like 50 the first day. And they were spread out a bit, but we got in the water with them. And sometimes I was with 10 whales, sometimes 15, sometimes 2 or 3. And they were in a very mellow mood as well. They spent a lot of time just kind of lazing around. When we first got in, they were very vocal, lots of squeaking, squealing, typical dolphin-y noises. And then they kind of quieted down. But they were all ages and sizes. These two on the screen, I would say it's a female and a juvenile, but there was a big male who you'll see later. And at one point I was swimming really hard, trying to keep up with, two that were about that size. And I just was getting exhausted. So I said to this one female, I said, could you please just slow down and come up and connect with me, or just take off, because I can't keep up anymore. I just need to get out of the water. And she was so cool. She just stopped. She came up right next to me. She sat there for a minute looking at me, and then she took off. I was like, thank you, bye. It was super cool. So I asked this female here on the screen, but we can go to the next slide, which is a big male. I asked, why they were so nice about hanging out with us. You can see there's a person in the picture there up on top. And they said, we know you are curious beings and that you see us as rock stars. It's fun to be around that energy, to be admired. We enjoy your joy. We weren't in a hurry, so we were happy to share our space with you. So I asked what the short-finned pilot whale purposes. And they said, our purpose is just be who we are. We shine our light through the ocean and take our place in the ecosystem. All beings are important and essential to the whole, even if they aren't aware of it. We are aware of our importance and place. We oversee our territory and other beings within it. We make sure everyone is behaving as they should be. Smaller cetaceans look up to us and show us respect. We are benevolent in our overseeing and we keep order. So I asked if they had a message for humanity, and they said the ocean is a very important place. It must be cared for. You have no idea how integral it is to the entire planet. And there are billions, no trillions of beings that live here. It is more important than the land and to the proper functioning of the planet. Do what you can to understand it, to preserve it, to keep it clean and vibrant. Every little bit helps and makes a difference. I say this not only because it is our home, but it is part of your home too, and you must recognize this. The health of the ocean affects everything on land. Love it, nurture it, and elevate it in your consciousness and hearts. So also during those 2 days, we met up with false killer whales. This is a big male on the top, females, juveniles underneath. And they had a very different energy. They were not as mellow. They were much more vibrant, zippy, and constantly talking. Blah, 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 just constantly screaming. And so loud that you could actually hear them above the water. And that guy on the top, he had a big tuna in his mouth when he went by me with this big grin on his face. And there was one time I was in the water with pilot whales, and one of these false killer whales just came flying through, blowing bubbles and making all kinds of vocalizations. And it was obvious he was annoyed, but I couldn't tell if he was annoyed at us or he was annoyed at the pilot whales. But when I talked to them about their vocalizing, he said, we're joyful and social, so we like to express ourselves. It's just the way we are. And I asked him about their purpose or mission, and he said, we are clowns. Our job is to bring joy and humor to ourselves and others. We lighten up everyone in the vicinity. We are here to remind all beings that life is fun. And so I asked him if he had a message for humans, and he said that life is fun. Be joyful, express yourself, enjoy your friends and family. All beings are here to enjoy this life, so remember that. So different messages for humanity from these different types of whales. And I just want you to know too that every single one of them all said, we're doing fine, we're happy, we're healthy, the water's good, no complaints here. So it was a wonderful trip. And I also got to meet a couple of different types of dolphins I've never seen before. Pan-tropical spotted dolphins and Fraser's dolphins, but they don't like to swim with people. So it was just watching those guys. That's my report.
Thank you. And we'll have some little questions for Mary once we come back after Pam's presentation, then I'll share a little bit as well. So thank you. I love the clown part. That's awesome. We all need more humor.
We do.
So I'm going to introduce Pam. Pam Turczyn is an artist. And since 2008, she has developed deep relationship with trees in both rural Woodstock and urban Brooklyn, New York. The teaching, healing, and inspiration received from them informs her co-creative art practice, allowing nature to express itself through her work. Her lively Facebook group, The Tree Diaries, provides a forum for tree empaths from around the planet to share their experiences. Welcome, Pam. And what's been happening in your art studio, sister?
Well, thank you, Danielea. Well, I'm going to give a little, this is a little, not only what's happening immediately, I'm giving a little backstory. So I've been working co-creative using a process called co-creative science, which means co-creating with nature beings. And it's something that was pioneered by Michelle Small-Wright from the Perelandra Nature Research Center in Virginia. And a core part of that practice is working with coning teams, which is the team is made up of a balance of involutionary and evolutionary forces. And the purpose is to facilitate manifestation and get guidance, so that your projects are manifesting in balance. So, so you call in these different entities, and then you can ask them questions in the form of yes or no or multiple choice questions, and then you receive the answer by a form of kinesiology called muscle testing. So, oh, could you go back to the first? Thank you. So I was using this process when in working with doing a series of 13 mandalas on infinite qualities. And the one you see on the left is the mandala of infinite patience, which I did in collaboration with this tree, who I was calling the patience tree because he was teaching me about patience, which I needed so much patience in order to do this painting, which is 2 feet by 2 feet and carefully planned out with calibrated colors, all to in the end both contain and convey the energy signature of patience. And at the very end, the tree also opened a portal in the center of the mandala, a portal to the tree world. But in drawing the layout, each little one of those little jigs and jags and bumps between the tree rings were dictated by the coning team. And I would go back and double check for accuracy by doing muscle testing. So it's very precise. You can get very concrete information, quantitative dates, times, all that kind of stuff. But it's also kind of boring. And it was, although I'm so happy with the finished result, I have to admit, it was kind of grueling to do the process. So in 2019, Devananda, thank you. So I was blessed in 2019 by the appearance of these amazingly patterned and colored maple leaves on our property in Woodstock, New York. Because for me, they were like the most beautiful abstract paintings in the world, created completely by nature. And so they became my teachers, my resource, my inspiration, going forward. So, I collected hundreds of these leaves, photographed them, scanned them, blew them up, cropped them, and I was in a state of euphoria. But then I found out that these patterns are actually caused by a fungal infection. So I asked members of my coning teams that I was working with does the fungus have consciousness? And I was told yes, and that I should reach out and dialogue with the fungal presence. And this is what it told me. Your enlargements, like the painting on you're looking at on the right, is a typical painting where I'm taking a detail of a leaf and blowing it up and cropping it so it becomes almost abstracted. Your enlargements bring people face to face with the fungal presence. We are here and should no longer be ignored. The more you know about us, the greater your chances of survival. We have ready technology to solve many of humankind's difficulties. If scientists will work directly and collaboratively with us, giving us intention and purpose, while engaging their human will, we can get to work quickly to avoid catastrophe. There's so much in that short phrase that speaks to what is possible when collaborating with nature beings. So this painting is one of my earlier attempts, and it's a lot more fun than the mandalas. But so, anyways, it was fun to do that painting, but still, I wanted. I was still kind of copying my photograph, and I wanted a different kind of process. So I spoke to my nature elders, and I said that I wanted to work in a way that was more fluid, more of a dance, and more of a exploration, where I didn't know where the painting was heading, but I had faith that it will all come together. And I even like periodically would go to the forest and speak from my heart about what I felt my mission was, and my willingness to listen and be guided. So in this painting, you can see how I'm starting to get really fascinated by leaf venation, the veins. There's two types. There's the branching major veins that we're all familiar with, but if you zoom in really close on a leaf, you find that there's another layer of patterning or veins called reticulate venation, which looks like this crackle pattern you can see in the painting. The thing on the right is a detail of the painting on the left. And on the border of the painting on the left side, it's hard to capture in this photo, but oh yeah, so the reticulate patterning, I see it relating to the web of life, and I'm showing how the web of life is, surrounding and interpenetrating the forms that show up in nature, and then coalescing into that column of light on the left, which is made out of gold and copper leaf. So it's metallic and it's kind of glowing. Next slide, please. And then this is a painting I did just at the cusp of this year. I want to mention that in 2022, Danielea held frequent listening fields, and I attended many, and I kept getting a message that a deeper attunement with nature was coming to me, that it was temporarily blocked, but this was going to be my, like, I kept hearing it was my hookup, like it would be my foundation for my creative practice. So that continued through 2022. And then the first week of 2023 was the 7 days of rest, the online retreat, when Danielea held a listening field every day on different themes. And the day that we did resonance, the nature elder that came forward to partner with me was Mother Gaia, who for me is like all of nature, is Mother Gaia. And she gave me a really clear somatic sense of what it feels like to be in resonance with her. So now my studio practice involves, a whole bunch of, different ritual, and I still use the coning teams, but I always pause to feel my resonance with Mother Gaia. And then a flow is established. So here in this painting, you see the two kinds of leaf venation, and again, the column of light. This is on a wood panel with gold, copper, and silver leaf. Next slide, please. And this is 2 feet by 3 feet. It's my most recent painting. And I call it spirit leaf because there's no tissue left in the leaf. It's all a skeleton. They call it a skeleton leaf, but it conveys this sense of the web of life and also a sense of presence, the presence that greets us in nature. So thank you.
Wow, Pam. Oh, I just love that last one. Oof. Okay, we'll say more after. I'll do my little bit, and then we'll get to talk about each other's. Yeah, but thank you.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
So it's my honor to introduce our host, Danielea Castell, who is a nature consultant, communicator, and founder of the Listening Field, which is a ceremonial space where humans and nature elders can explore the frontiers of co-creative partnership, conduct joint research, and discover new frameworks for current issues. The Listening Field services include private and group consultations with the nature elders, one-on-one mentoring, community events, and research and strategy development for organizations. Welcome, Danielea.
Thank you, Pam. So blessings, everyone. I'm going to first just speak a little bit about what's been happening for me personally. So the Listening Field emerged in 2020 during lockdown. It was one of those gifts of that time. They say necessity is the mother of invention. Well, I had been meeting personally with water, rock, and tree elders around the world for the previous 11 years, full time. And of course, when lockdown happened and we couldn't travel anymore, I still wanted to continue my work with them. And at that point, I had already transitioned from being an apprentice with tree and water. I was about to enter my apprenticeship with mountain and rock, and had just gone through a dark night of the soul experience in Cape Town, South Africa, in which I had understood that even though I was starting with mountain and rock, I had actually graduated from my apprenticeship and was now being asked to come into being a collaborator in training with my nature elders. And so I had started to design experiences on land with them and bring humans with me and us to discover how to move among and to camp and how to really interact with our nature elders in their home. Of course, as I said, lockdown happened. I couldn't travel anymore. Flights were canceled to return to Cape Town. And I discovered that I could open this ceremonial space with the nature elders, invite them to come, and they would. So energetically and spiritually, they show up and we can actually converse together all at once for the very first time instead of flying to China or going to Switzerland or, doing all of that travel. We could now have a zero carbon footprint and actually have meetings on the fly. So of course I discovered that we could all do this. And over the period of the past 3 years, the listening field has been developing as a co-creative field. So as Pam shared, in 2022, the listening field went from the first year where we worked more as an social research tool, hosting what I called eco labs. People were initiating dialogues with the water inside their own body. And then that was 2021. And during that period of time, I discovered that the field has 4 qualities that as the host, it's my job to ensure that those remain intact. And that is the field is open, it's responsive, it is emergent, and it's evolving. And then I was also shown through those 16 eco labs that I hosted, 16 with water and 2 with fire. I was shown how to host the field as opposed to hold the field. So that was a really interesting distinction for me. I was shown this image. As I said, I did 16 3-hour experiences with groups around the world. And what I started to notice after I'd done about 10 of them, that the listening field felt like it was this raft. And I was in the water with flippers on my feet, and I was just moving the raft in the direction where the group of people are who were going to open that eco lab. And it was funny because each eco lab had a little bit that was different about them. They were often groups of people in one part of the world or another, or they had something in common. And so something would, design-wise, would emerge out of that particular eco lab. And it became like a little object that got tied to the raft. And then, I would be in the ocean floating around waiting for the next call for the next listening field. And then I would paddle over and take the raft in that direction. And so the raft ended up having all these little things attached to it. And I didn't necessarily use those things at the next eco lab. So again, I was just being shown that this isn't something that is firm and lands and is anything even predictable, except for the ritual opening of the field. It is something to be in constant listening for. And so the reason I'm sharing this bit is because I have just really navigated a threshold with the listening field. So last year, the listening field went global. We hosted 37 listening fields over the entire year. In total, we're over 800 humans and nature elders who were part of that field continuously and helping to develop it. And during that time, the nature elders kept giving us these beautiful and profound messages, which I would make into these visual memes and also into compilation videos. And so when that full year of work happened, and I spent some time really listening about what's next, the direction came from Spirit that the listening field was now to be brought to organizations and businesses and NGOs, etc. And that is definitely not my wheelhouse. And I know, as I'm sure you do, that we get shown whatever it is our task, our mission is, we either get shown or somebody shows up who can help us do that. So what I've been involved in the past 6 months, I haven't been hosting listening fields. I've been in this process of listening. And so we have we're going through a process right now of branding and website building for the listening field. But what's exciting for me is that the first thing the branding guy said to me he said, you need to separate yourself from the listening field. And at that point, because it had come through me and my nature elders, and then was something that I continued to host and felt that I was a spokesperson for the mission, at that moment, I didn't really understand how to do that. But the moment I introduced that idea of separating myself, it started to happen. And this wonderful thing has now occurred where the listening field has become its own entity. And that's felt really good. And so what you just heard Pam read is just one of the sort of descriptions or messages that we're starting to talk about the listening field and to understand really how it can serve. And the last thing I'll just share about this bit is that Now I really see the listening field. We're a concierge service. We're a concierge service, and we literally organize these ceremonial dialogues for humans and nature elders who want to communicate directly and engage at this level that was already described, this co-creative level. These questions about how does a business operate? You know, you can imagine opening a listening field with the nature elders that are involved in the making of the product of your business, or involved in the transportation of that product. Finding out, how's it going? Like, is there a different way we could do things that would maybe be more in harmony with you? I mean, there's all kinds of questions and research and consultations that could happen. So that's where we're headed. And we do have a landing page. It's listeningfield.life. And I'm pretty excited about the case studies. We've been doing case studies with different organizations and groups. I've already started doing private listening fields, and we're discovering that, you know, the nature elders have tremendous amount of wisdom to offer and support for individuals who are having difficulty making decisions, need emotional and mental support. We're moving into the realm of connecting youth and nature elders. So that's really exciting. We have a pilot program starting next week. So that's what I wanted to just share about the listening field. And just, I think the piece about the separating ourselves from our creation is kind of a natural part. For those of you who have been human mothers, I think it's probably very similar, right? Your children grow up and they become their own identity and they move away. And so I think that's what I'm in the process of. I'm just saying that I've really learned to enjoy it and appreciate it, and to see this, the identity of the listening field start to show itself on its own. So the other piece I want to quickly share is just has to do with doing the other instruction that I got this year was to bring the listening field on land. So I'm just going to share a little bit because we want to have a little bit more time for other things. So I've done 2 pilots so far. This is Beacon Hill Park in Victoria, BC. There were 4 women, Ingrid Taggart, myself, Elliot Willis, and another woman who I hadn't met before. And lo and behold, it was a May-long weekend, very, very busy. There were tons of people. You don't really see it in these photos here. But what I noticed was in the listening field online, we call in the nature elders. So we invite them in, they come, the field assembles around us. The most fundamental difference between doing a listening field on land is that the field is already there. Mm-hmm. It's already there, right? So we enter it. And what was really cool about this, so we all befriended this redwood tree elder who told me his name was Drifter. I said, really? I thought he was joking with me. He goes, really? Anyways, he explained that it's because he's very social and he has all these spindly arms and he goes out and he visits around. He says, not all trees are like me, but I am. And that's why they call me Drifter. But this was what was really remarkable, was that we decided to listen to every single stage. So we would have a sharing at the picnic table to just introduce ourselves. And then I said, let's have 5 minutes of silence and wait until what is the impulse that arises next. And we did that for every single stage. And one of the ones that was really exciting is that I was guided to invite us to stand in a circle. And I started drumming, which is the way I open, you know, a communication trail, if you like, just like a shamanic drumming, and addressed the whole park. And introduced myself, introduced why we were here today, and then passed it to the other people who were there who did the same. So, you know, it's a bit of a turning inside out of the online experience, was to come back to this other way of doing it. Now, there were beautiful messages that were received. One of the ones that was significant is Ingrid was taken right inside Drifter, right inside the sequoia tree, and he invited her to become him, and she needed to slow down her heart rate way, way, way slow in order to be sequoia. And so that was her takeaway, was just really understanding that it is possible for her to do that, and that he was modeling that for her. The next one is, this was a little bit more intense experience. We were down in an old growth forest near Port Renfrew, and this forest is called Avatar Grove. It is connected with another forest called Faerie Creek, which last year some land defenders set up blockades there for more than 200 and plus days. And there was lots of violence that happened on the part of the paramilitary RCMP who went in. This listening field and these young people that were here were part of that situation last year. So there was this potential that the clear cutting was going to happen again. And we went down to ask the cedar tree elder, how can we support your kin in Faerie Creek? How can we support the land defenders? And how can we empower the primaries of Teal Jones, which is the company who is clear cutting? How can we empower them to wake up to their sacred duty as stewards? So it was quite remarkable. The messages that they received were very visceral. Some of them were storytellers and doing a lot of social media for this movement, and they were given explicit instructions and even images that they were to use online, and shown how they could better document the situation. One of the things that was really remarkable, though, is that they were very assured. This is the cedar elder here. She's huge, just absolutely huge. But they were assured that that the trees said that they will be present no matter what. So it didn't matter that they were actually cut down, that they were going to be able to serve in the way that they're meant to serve. There's more ways that they can do that. So that's all that I'm going to share with you at the moment, because I want to just, give more time. But I think that I would say the important thing for me at this point, I want to do many more listening fields on land. I'm connecting with one of the universities on the island, and we're looking at connecting, again, young people with the tree elders that are living on the university campus. And so again, it's this idea of, especially for young people, that having a relationship with a nature elder, especially a tree elder, can just really bring stability. They love us so fully, exactly the way that we are, and that we can receive what we require without having to go through the human realm, because we're all going through a lot right now, and they definitely need some support that is sort of outside of the existing paradigm that we're in the process of dissolving. So that's all I have to share at the moment. And I wanted to just let you in the audience know that we'll be taking some questions or comments. So if you'd like to, as they come to you, put them in the chat. And then I wanted to just open it up in case Pam and Mary wanted to respond to anything that they've heard from either one of us.
I have a couple questions, one for Mary and one for Danielea. For Mary, how did the whales react to you, like as you entered their space? How did they respond? Since I know from reading your book that they communicate telepathically, did they know that you're special, that you're a whale communicator? Could they hear you thinking?
Yeah, I had been connecting with the sperm whales down there before I went, and telling them who I was, what I wanted to meet with them for. And when we got to the island, I was like, we're here, come on out tomorrow, So I would say there wasn't a lot of surprise about it. They were like, oh yeah, okay, here they are. And one of my friends that was also there, she had also been talking to them. So they knew who we were. Yeah.
That's great. And Danielea,
Pam, maybe I'll ask Mary a question. Mary, do you know how often do they do that sleeping business?
You know, what the guides on the trip told us was that they sleep in these, like what they called cat naps, 15, 20 minutes. Nobody knows exactly how long, because they spend so much time way down at the bottom of the ocean hunting for giant squid. So they don't seem to require a lot of, long-term sleep. And I've seen that with dolphins and orcas too. They don't sleep for long periods of time. So, they're all conscious breathers. And so they don't go completely out like we do. They have to always have enough awareness to remember to come up to breathe. So they're cat nappers, I guess. They've got a huge brain and they use it.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you.
So Danielea, when you did the unland listening field at Beacon Hill Park, you meant with the 4 women, you mentioned that at each stage you would pause and find the next thing on the agenda. Could you break that down? Because this is incredibly important for any kind of collaboration between humans and nature elders. Like, we can use this technique all the time.
Sure. It was very clear. So we literally got out of the car and we had drums. Ingrid had all these beautiful hand hammered bowls, metal bowls that I had met at her house. And I said, would you bring some? She said, yes. So we already had, this instrument. So the 4 of us met, and I knew 2 of the people. Everyone else had never met each other before. And we're standing in the parking lot. It's a Victoria Day weekend. It's busy, like busy, which under normal circumstances wouldn't have been, my ideal thing, but it was cool. And I just sensed from even the standing at the trunk was, oh, we need a place to put things down and meet each other. So I said, let's go over there. And we just went over and found this picnic thing, and then we started to kind of settle in like women do. We kind of make any space home, and the bowls came out and a few of our instruments, and then we sat down. And then when we sat down, it was just breathing, and I said, well, let's do a check-in and introduce ourselves to each other. Why did you come today? Why did you say yes when I invited you to do this? So then each person said a little bit, and then I said, let's just breathe and pause and make a few notes in your journal. So we did that. And then after we did that, it was looking at these beautiful bowls. These bowls were here, and I said, will you clear us energetically with the bowls? So then that became, I've got these beautiful pictures. One of them, we've even got the bowl on top of the person's head and gonging on their head. So then it was cleansing our energy, and like with these beautiful bowls and with all these people around, and it was really cool. Nobody even was really staring. It was like almost as if it was perfectly normal. And then we sat down, and then I said, okay, I know what the next piece is now. The next piece is we're going to address the whole park here. It's a huge park. We're going to address the whole park. And I'm being drawn over here. So, bring your instrument if you have a drum or whatever. And if you need to, let's just take a moment. And if you want to make a few notes about what you're going to address the forest. And so then we did that, and I was spontaneously guided to sing "I Am Here," which is on my Thank You Water CD, and then that became a sound weaving, and they joined us, and like the women joined me and harmonized. And then when that greeting song was finished, then each person went around and spoke directly to the forest, almost as if like when you call in the nature elders. And then we were hungry. We did that, and it was like 11:30, and I was like, I'm hungry. And they're like, I'm hungry too. And so we went and got our food and we ate and we had this incredible picnic. And then we were like, oh, I'm kind of sleepy. And I said, yeah, let's have a nap. And so we got our blankets and we went and laid beside Drifter. We laid under him, and he was kind of, his, canopy came around us and people couldn't even really see us. So then we had a nap. I mean, they got pictures of me with my hat over my head up against him. And then at various times, people woke up and started on their own to communicate with him. And so the listening unfolded like that. I was planning to open a field. I didn't. It unfolded like that. And then by the time we'd had that experience, we documented it and we'd shared it, we were going to go to another location. And we went to change cars at my friend's house. I said, how's everybody feeling? How's your energy? And they were like, I'm feeling a little tired, and I said, yeah, I'm looking at the time. And then I was like, why don't we just sit over here and have our final share from the day? Because I think we're done. Instead of, no, we said we were going to the mountain. So we got it, like this push thing. It was the exact opposite. It was just, and we had so much fun. And it was so gentle and it was so loving. Like, really, I can't convey how precious it was to enter into it was forest time. Yeah. So
Beautiful.
Thank you. 9:28.
anyone in the group here, do you have any questions or just any comments? Maybe you've had an experience lately that you would like to share about. Things are shifting, eh? I'm just going to unspotlight us here. Barbara, what's been happening in your forest? Let's see, can you?
Yeah, my precious forest, it's helping me these days. I'm going through a rough patch, and every day it's just so beautiful and so soothing. And so we've had the weather here has been really quite amazing. We're kind of lucky in this little corner of the world. We haven't had extreme heat, and we've had lots of days of rain. So and we had all that heat in May. So everything came together this spring. The things in the early plants were early, and were late, and the July plants came early because of all the heat. So the forest is just incredibly lush right now. Everything's blooming at once, and it's just bringing me joy. It's soothing me, and it's a beautiful place to be. I'm thanking it every day for being there for me.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Julie. Where did she go? Oh, there she is. Oh, there you go.
Hello.
Hi.
I have to be brief because I have to jump off, but I did want to share my appreciation. And I'm so delighted to share with you in the chat a recording that I made of a tree singing in the Avatar Grove where you did your ceremony. And it's a recording that's very special to me. Every year I try to find a tree at least 1,000-year-old and record it. And now I'm starting to do ceremonies with people, with dancers dancing while the tree is singing and filming it. And anyway, so I wanted to share that with everyone. The link is there. And I'd love to connect and talk about some ideas that what you all shared inspired me. Like we could really do amazing things. So thank you for being here. I'm sorry I have to jump off, but I want to be responsible to another group of people. Thank
Oh,
you.
Thank you, Julie. And if you go to the listeningfield.life and sign up for the newsletter, and then we can connect. And where do you live? Where do you live?
In Olympia, Washington.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
So you
yeah.
come up. Okay. Bye. So thank you, everyone. I know we're at time, and I'm just going to share with you that next month we have Beverly Templeton, and she's going to be sharing about the messages for the Redwoods Project. I know she's also part of Global Tree Lovers, and she's there right now. Actually, today she's in the forest at the park where these exhibit that's been created from this. So that's next month. So thank you. It's been lovely to see some new faces here tonight. And thank you so much to Pam and Mary. Everyone is welcome to unmute, to put their voice in, to say goodbye. And we'll see you next time if you'd like to join us.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so
Thank
much for
you.
this beautiful hour.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
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 Bye-bye.